Welcome to the Own It Powercast, the place to be when you get serious about making big changes and accelerating growth in your life and in your relationships. Finally create the life you've always wanted, living life on your own terms. Learn how to take your fear and turn it into powerful choices that will create sustained change. Now your host, Mary Baker.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own It Powercast, a place where you can come to get what you need to move yourself forward. Hey, it's Mary Baker, and welcome to episode 57, The Art of Becoming More Assertive. Now, as you know, all month on the podcast, we have been talking about healthy self-confidence, which I think is impossible to have and demonstrate without healthy assertiveness, which I've talked about before in earlier episodes, and I want to revisit that again today. It is something that I have focused on for years as a very important aspect of empowerment, self-confidence, and self-esteem. So what I want to focus in on today is the art of becoming. You notice that in the title, and the reason why the concept of becoming is so important is because this is a journey and a process, and every step that you take towards your goal of becoming more grounded and self-confident and assertive matters. There are the big rocks in the jar, down to the tiny grains of sand and everything in between. And guys, it all matters. And I say that because that is what I've learned over the years working with folks around this stuff, answering the questions that come up for them, trying to find answers for the ones that have come up for me along the way, and trying to figure this out and understand it. And also, as you watch someone's transformation and you start to see some of the universal principles from one client to the next, it starts to click. So I want to focus in on some of the smaller parts today. What's really cool about this episode is these are things that you can start doing right away. You can get back on the horse and do again if you've done them in the past. And they're very doable. And you can take them and run with them. That's what I love about it. All right, so becoming more confident, here's the kicker. You're going to have to start faking it until you make it. You can't just want to become more confident and not practice. And the reason why, and you know this, is because you struggle with speaking up and stating your boundaries and being more assertive and showing the world that you really believe in yourself. You probably have behaviors and ways of speaking and carrying yourself that kind of speak to that, right? I mean, it would be incongruent to think you walk around with confident demeanor without some of you believing that that is true. So that's what I want to focus on is you're going to need to practice, and play the part, experiment. So have fun with this episode is what I encourage you to do. Take it on as a fun challenge and not something to shy away from or be afraid of. Yes, it's going to feel a little awkward at first. Anytime we try on a new skill, guys, it's going to. And I hear that fear from clients all the time. And I say, anytime you tried something new, you fell off the bike a couple times, right? We all do. That's okay. We figure it out. If we keep getting back on the damn bike, we figure it out and finally we get going. Confident people are sure of themselves for the most part. I'm not talking about narcissism and denial and arrogance, guys. I'm talking about they believe in themselves and they trust themselves. So first of all, your posture. How do you sit? I mean, there has been research that shows when people are encouraged to sit up straight with their shoulders back or stand tall and confident, they felt more confident and were able to complete a task a lot quicker and a lot better than those who were told to slouch and put their head down and be meek. So there's something to be said for that. Remember, your subconscious is gathering cues from your environment, including your body, all day long, every second. So everything that you can do matters. So if you start carrying yourself with a little more confidence and you keep doing that consistently, you're going to start feeling more confident, and other people are going to feel that as well. When we are hanging back, going within and really cowering, so to speak, it actually makes everyone else feel more uncomfortable. Okay? It creates anxiety for those around us, because I think one of the reasons is that we're not being our authentic self. Remember, a 4-year-old knows exactly who they are and not afraid to show it. And they're so pure, right? That's what we want to get back to. How you carry yourself in terms of how you walk. How do you walk? I want you to start paying attention to that. Are you looking down? Do you look ahead? Is your head up? Are you smiling for the most part? Are you open and pleasant? How do you carry yourself? And there's no right or wrong way to do this. I want you to just pay attention to your own body and think about ways that you can practice just being a little more confident as you walk and as you sit and as you engage with others. Eye contact, we've talked about before. If you've learned to avert your gaze, there are very good reasons for that. And it's practicing not staring, but looking someone in the eyes as much as you can to connect and turn towards and not turn away. And it's little by little, bit by bit, you become stronger. You get desensitized to the fear of doing it, becomes more normal and more desired. How you speak, too, I think really matters. And it's so nuanced. I'm sure I can't cover it all here. But I want to talk about how you say words matters. Because you can say the word whatever 18 different ways, like we've talked about before, and elicit a different emotional response. So how do you say your words? Are they firm? Is that what you believe? What is your tone? It's not aggressive, but it's not passive either. And it's not giving the vibe that you doubt what you're saying, that you doubt what you believe in, and that you doubt that you believe in yourself. Like I could say something in a way very tentative and say, I really don't know. I'm not sure. Could be, hear the wishy-washy in my voice as opposed to, I really think that that's how I feel. And this is what I've decided to do about this. And I'm sorry, that doesn't work for me. Do you hear the decisiveness in my voice? And not that we're rigid and we can't be open and flexible and teachable. I'm not talking about that. But I'm talking about being thoughtful and grounded and not opening our mouth, right, until we can speak something that we think is our truth. And that's really important too. So those of you who struggle with being overly agreeable, shall we say, people pleasing, I want you to really work on that. Don't say what you don't mean. That gets us in lots of trouble in lots of different ways, especially with ourselves. There's no way you can have confidence in yourself if you really don't believe what you say, or if you're agreeing with them and going against how you really think and feel. The other way we want to look at how we speak is, how positive are you being? Are you taking the victim stance? Just on average. I'm not talking about when something awful happens. I'm talking about on the daily. Like if I polled your friends and your family right now and sat them all down, how would they characterize how you come across when they pick up the phone, typically? And I really want you to pay attention to how you talk about life, about others, about circumstances, about yourself, about the world. Is it positive or is it always negative? And are you using the word always, like I just did, always and never? Guys, they're fantasy. That's usually not true. Life is in the gray. You've heard me say before, look for the positive opposite of the that you're feeling before you speak it. For example, today's going to be awful because I have to do something I don't want to do. The positive opposite of that is, I will be so glad when I get this done. I'm going to feel so much better. Maybe just even that it's over, right? That's okay. Instead of saying to someone, I hate when you do that. It makes me crazy. You can say, thank you for not doing that. Thank you for doing this instead. It was great. It was wonderful. I'm so grateful. So the positive opposite. If you're used to speaking the negative or thinking the negative, sit there for a second and think, what is the positive opposite of that? And usually it's a positive need, a valid need, like we've talked about in our needs episode. So try to see how positive you are when you're speaking, very solution focused, right? In other words, we have to ask ourselves, do I just want to sit here and bitch about the problem? Really? Or am I really invested in there actually being a solution? And then here's the kicker. Am I even ready to be a part of the solution? Meaning I have to kind of look at my own behavior. So that personal responsibility piece, solution focused, trying to find the positive opposite, and being hopeful. The next thing I want you to pay attention to is how calm and grounded are you? Or do you come across as anxious or aggressive, in a hurry, rushed, distracted, always focused on the next thing, can't sit still, can't be in the moment? So if you find yourself struggling with the things I just mentioned, there's a few things I want to say about that. Number one, as you work on becoming more confident, some of that's going to just naturally go away. If your anxiety has a lot to do with that internal conflict, like we've talked about before, where you're actually fighting yourself and not being authentic and your insides ain't matching your outsides, the more that they do, your anxiety is going to come down. Okay, so there's that. The other part is there may be some old wounds around your self-esteem, some early trauma work, childhood issues. I always encourage people go back and dig that up and work with a professional around those, or a support group or some kind of self-help, so that you can heal some of that, because that is a part of this process. You know, we have to do the grief work and all of that, guys. And so if you struggle with that, don't worry, you can heal that and work through it. I watch people do it all the time, and it's actually so amazing to see how they come out the other side. It is just profound. It's why I do this work. It's one of the things I love the most is the transformation. The next one, how open and warm and caring and accessible are you? Again, not every moment of every day, but on average. We're talking about these things right now, like on average, you know, outside of a catastrophe happening in your life or just having a shitty day. We all have those. But I'm talking about just on average, you know, and kind of focusing on that. What I want you to do is observe without judgment with these things, by the way. You know by now, you're not allowed to beat yourself up with this stuff. Just be kind of neutral and say, that's interesting. I just played victim on the phone with my sister. Wow. I noticed I was a little closed off today with my kids, and wow, let me take a look at that. It's really important not to self-criticize here. We're just noticing, and then we're replacing with a more positive habit. That's all we're doing here. That's the magic. You cannot shame yourself into being confident. Sorry, it's not going to work. The opposite is going to happen instead. You're going to feel worse. So you're caring yet firm. This does not mean you're becoming a pushover or weak or anything like that. In fact, you know by now, if you've been listening, the better boundaries we have, guys, the easier it is to be warm and open and caring, because I can take care of myself in my relationships. I know where I stand on shit. I can say no. It's when we can't say no that we often guard our heart and are more closed off and defensive and stressed out and distracted and reactive with people, okay? So just pay attention to that with a neutral interest. And finally, this is a given. On average, are you focused on yourself or on others or nouns outside of you? Are you using I statements? Where is your focus? Where's the responsibility? We articulate that, guys, in conversation. And what is a fun exercise is you can kind of not only notice this in yourself, like just notice, observe. I want you to look around you and notice how other people talk. Whether it's someone on a TV show or your kid or a colleague on Zoom or your mama or whoever, I want you to notice, where is the focus? This is really powerful stuff. Now, here's the thing. You probably are already noticing if you're listening to these episodes, because if you're working on yourself, you notice it everywhere. Bringing it back to ourselves, even if we had a day or two where we were other focused, it's all right. Just bring it back, bring it back, bring it back. We cannot feel empowered until we own it. So, in essence, these are all the ways I would act if I were more confident. And that's where I want you to focus. What would a confident person do? How would they manage situations? How would they confront their life? How would they deal with circumstances? What choices would they make? How would they behave? All that stuff. Now, I'm going to touch on a few of these today, but I'm sure there could be a million more, right? These are some obvious ones, and I just want you to do the gap analysis. Like, okay, well, this is what confident people do. Where am I? Where am I on that continuum from, yeah, I don't do that at all, to, I got that, I'm really good, or somewhere in between. So confident people would first focus on healthy boundaries and do the who owns what. Remember that. Who owns what in the scenario? What belongs to me? What belongs to them? And whatever belongs to them is none of my business. That's for them to figure out. So here comes healthy detachment, right? Boundaries first, everything else second. I believe that if you start with boundaries, you can't go wrong. They would also consider the long-term either benefits and or consequences of their choices and behaviors. So if you're young and immature, you're probably not thinking past Friday night. I mean, that's what maturity is realizing, oh, if I spend all that money today, I might not have any tomorrow. We want to, again, not become anxious and not take any risk, but we want to take calculated risks. And we want to think about, okay, I can treat that person poorly today and say, well, I just had a really bad day, so what? But if I keep doing that, are they going to want to be close to me? If I keep letting people down and not follow through on what I said I was going to do, are they going to be able to rely on me? Probably not, right? So do the math. Think long term, think how this could play out, perhaps, and what are the consequences? Confident people would definitely confront issues openly and maturely and calmly, and try not to avoid it and walk around it and put it under the rug and pretend it ain't there. Avoidance is a huge piece for people who struggle with self-confidence and being assertive. Because being assertive is a risk. And if you are avoidant, you're avoiding the risk of being rejected, of conflict, of it being awful, of people hating you, walking away. So working on your avoidance, gathering support, gathering help around that, gathering courage, and practicing little by little by little. Assertiveness is a muscle that we have to work, otherwise it atrophies. Confident people try not to act out of anger or haste or just in essence be reactive. They really try to be proactive and responsive. Okay, so I can react or respond to a situation or to you. And when I react, it's fear-based every stinking time, and we don't feel empowered, and we feel resentful of them or their circumstances. We feel victimized, and then we act out, and we're usually pretty immature. So confident people, instead, they feel their feelings. They're like, yeah, I'm pissed. But what do I want to do about this? What should I do? How do I need to take responsibility? What boundaries do I need to set? What reality do I need to accept? There's a big one. You can't be confident and not be in reality. It just doesn't work. And we got to metabolize reality sometimes. This doesn't happen instantly, guys. You got to go kicking and screaming. Talked about, you got to call someone up. You got to journal, you got to go to therapy, get your coach, get your group, work it through. They would take time to be thoughtful and make decisions and own the decisions. Remember, we don't get to manipulate because that has nothing to do with confidence. We own our decisions, good or bad. We are focusing solely on personal responsibility. Everything we think, feel, choose, do, believe. If you've been listening, you hear me say that all the time. There's a reason why I say that all the time. You take ownership of that, everything else gets better. I promise. Confident people have positive, encouraging, loving, compassionate, challenging self-talk. They affirm themselves. They do not beat themselves up. They use compassion and understanding with themselves and accountability. It's not like you talk to yourself and say, oh, it's okay, we don't need to deal with that. Instead, you're talking to yourself and saying, it's okay, you're trying. Get back up, try again. Yes, we need to deal with this challenge and we want to. Let's think about what we should do about that. Along with that, confident people are not afraid to ask for help. They are not afraid, in other words, to be vulnerable. They don't think they have to have all the answers. In fact, they're like, thank God I no longer do, right? I can reach out. I can reach out to people who are smarter than me, have more experience, more answers, more education, more whatever. And that's a good thing. See, people who struggle with self-esteem are afraid of reaching out for help because they're afraid of not being perfect, or they're afraid someone will find out they don't know that stuff. And then because their self-esteem is so outsourced upon image, you get where I'm going. Smart people, confident people reach out. They have no problem doing that. They have humility. They don't have to have all the answers. They just have to have the maturity to reach out and say, maybe someone does. I need help. Now, this doesn't mean we outsource everything to everyone and throw our hands up and say, I can't do anything. We find the balance as we go along. And in terms of that, confident people are choosing all day long, and they own every choice they make, and they try really hard not to put that on other people or other circumstances outside of themselves. One of the things that I encourage clients to do all the time, and they hate me afterwards, is to write down for 3 days their choices. And you can do this in different ways. Today, I want to encourage that in the morning and in the evening, you write them down. So when you wake up in the morning before you start your day, I want you to write down 3 to 5 things. I am choosing to do X today because. Get that because going in there. I want you to own your why. Okay, this is not about controlling outcomes. It's just what we're choosing to do. And then before you go to bed, I want you to look back over your day and say, these are things that I chose to do. And that includes what we say to people, how we respond to situations, not just things we set out to do, but how did I respond to life today, so to speak? Because life is going to show up. Oh my gosh. Some days better than others. And so we want to take a little bit of an inventory about how we did and own our choices. Again, you're not allowed to beat yourself up. I just want you to be neutral and say, not sure if I'm real happy about that choice that I made today or how I responded to her phone call. I can work on getting better with that. So owning your choices. So another thing that confident people do is take good care of themselves. So I'm not going to get into details about self-care. I think that if you've been listening, you have a good sense. But it's physically taking care of yourself, your body, your mental health, your physical health, your stress level, getting enough rest, getting enough downtime and play as much as you possibly can, quiet time, doing things that you enjoy. It also includes getting shit done, taking care of our responsibilities, not putting everyone else's stuff before your own. You know who you are out there. Climb down from the cross. Here's a ladder. Good self-care. You can't help anybody until you help yourself first. You can't feel grounded and calm and even believe yourself if you're not taking care of yourself. Taking care of your environment. Your car, your bag, your desk, your home, your bathroom, your living room. Again, not perfect. It's not about perfect. It's about taking care of you. Confident people also learn to trust their intuition a bit more. They trust their gut, they go with it. Perhaps at times when other people think they're crazy or they don't really have any logical reason, they just learn how to trust their gut and they follow it. And then they realize, I'm so glad I did that. Oh my God. Because again, like we've said, you're not going to know until afterwards. Looking back like, whoa, that's why my spidey sense said don't do that. So really trusting your internal guidance system is really, really important because you're building self-trust with all of this. And this takes patience and time, and you're not going to do it perfectly, and that's okay. Another way to really work on self-confidence is visualization. And I've used visualization in these episodes before, and I think they are a wonderful tool. I understand not everyone can be visual, but you probably, if you're not visual, you're kinesthetic. So thinking about how it would feel is totally groovy. Do that. So I want you to practice a visualization that feels right for you. Just trust what comes up. But in essence, doing this a couple times a week is really amazing. It's great to do right before you go to bed. So you go to bed calm and grounded. But I want you to see yourself in specific situations that you know you might have to deal with or that are going to come up for you, that where you see yourself as strong and you're capable and you're doing specific things you wish you could do today more comfortably, right? You wished you could confront, deal with, grab a hold of, however you want to characterize it. But I want you to also feel how good that feels. It's not scary. It's awesome. It's calm. It's exciting. It's joyous. It's whatever, but no anxiety attached. It's like you've been doing this for years. I want you to feel the happy, feel the grounded, feel it all through your body, and feel the freedom to finally be who you really are. So I encourage you to write down a few things today, a few situations or ways that you would love to be more confident. And I want you to visualize that and practice. Some people write it out and then read it out loud, see it in your mind, use it in your meditation, however you see fit. Okay. You are practicing ways of becoming more self-confident. You are noticing, observing how you carry yourself, how you take care of yourself, how you speak to yourself in your head and your heart, how you converse with others, how positive or grounded you are. Are you reactive and defensive versus thoughtful and detached? Do you have some boundary work to go back and do? That's all good. Whether you avoid or you have the courage to confront, or maybe somewhere in between, right? Like most people are. All this stuff is about choosing it and practicing it and owning it and practicing some more and learning as we go, like we've talked about this month, gathering the data, saying, that's interesting, emulating other people who are confident. This is not about arrogance. It's not about denial. It's about humble, grounded, confident, open, positive. I want you to grab any moment you can to practice this. There is no perfect. You're just experimenting. Start small and work to the bigger things. It's the best way to do it. You build momentum. You work the muscle. You get stronger. These are really just skills to hone. That's all they are. It's going to feel awkward, like we said. That's okay. I want you to keep doing it and just trust what hits your radar to do next. Make sure your heart is in this work. It won't work unless it is. And get your why together. Your why will motivate you and drive you. It'll pick you back up off the floor when it doesn't go well, too. Not all this is going to go perfectly, guys. Not everybody is going to support you being more confident. We've talked about that on this show. People who have really great boundaries and who love themselves are going to be so happy for you and supportive. And the people who aren't, they're not your people anymore. Even if they're family and you're related, they're not your people anymore. It's sad, but that's the case. All right, so to finish off, I want to do an exercise just to help you get more in touch with the concept of taking different aspects of confidence and focusing in on each one. And I think confidence has a lot to do with your integrity and your character and who you are becoming. And that's a values-based and a beliefs-based deal. I'm going to read a couple of sentence starters or sentence stems. I want you to notice what comes up immediately in your heart, like in the first nanosecond before you have time to think about it. That is what you go with. Okay, so try to pay attention to that. And it's just an ending to the sentence, and there's usually more than one. When you write these out, and I'm going to put these in the bonus downloads for you, you'll probably come up with 4 to 6 different endings, and some are positive, some are negative, some are neutral. Just trust whatever comes up. Whatever comes up is what's supposed to come up. Just go with whatever comes. If you're walking or running or driving or whatever you're doing, just see what comes up in your heart. You can do the download later and really flesh it out. All right. You ready? Number 1. If I focused on being more pleasant with those around me every day, if I focused on being more pleasant with those around me every day, Number 2, if I were to practice being more calm, I would. If I were to practice being more calm, I would. Number 3, being strong to me means. Being strong to me means. And number 4, if I were brave today, I would. If I were brave today, I would. Okay, so what came up for you? Hopefully some things that came up in your heart that are timely in terms of, I think that things come up for us to look at. Not to judge ourselves, just to look at. Now remember, I've included these in the bonus download with a few extra ones. I encourage you to take one a week. Meditate on it, journal about it, and the best part, practice ways that you can exemplify it. For example, if you were to focus on being calmer, you would practice that for a week in different situations, especially ones that can stress you out, just practicing being more calm. This is not denying how you feel. It is a conscious choice to be more calm. Maybe not to be so stressed out when other people are asking you for 5 different things at once, right? But just practice and just see what comes up for you. I think that when we take all of these smaller aspects of becoming more confident and you add all these together, they really pack a punch. This is what I've witnessed over the years with clients, what I have worked on within myself, and what I talk to people about every day. So you can sit here all day long and read all the great books and do the therapy and say, I want to be more confident. But here's the gig. Yes, we have to do the deeper clinical work, but I think we also have to practice new behaviors. We got to get rid of old habits. We have to start becoming that person on the outside that we're feeling like on the inside. Does that make sense? So our insides are matching our outsides, as you often hear me say. All right. So today we talked about all the little, but I think mighty aspects of becoming more confident, beginning to carry ourselves with just a little bit more self-love and mojo. I want you to start taking more risks. I want you to act as if, because you become what you repeatedly do. I repeat that. You become what you repeatedly do. I did not come up with that. I hear that everywhere. I think it's so true. You know what's cool? Just start changing what you repeatedly do. You are going to change. You are going to become stronger and more confident. All right. So next week, we finish up the month about confidence with a great conversation with a life and career coach friend of mine, Margaret. It's awesome. I can't wait. And she and I will get into the concept of building confidence. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you got some good stuff. If you haven't already, go to the show notes at ownitpowercast.com. Sign up for the newsletter. It comes out every Tuesday. That's where you'll get the bonus downloads, and you can hit past episodes and get those too, which is cool, and whatever other information is coming out. Also, we have a great, small, intimate Facebook group going on, guys. Get in there now. I'm going to start getting in there soon and putting everybody to work, so fair warning. All right, so pay it forward. Keep focusing on loving you and those around you, and I'll see you next time.
We hope you took away some useful insights and tools you can begin using right away. If you did, please leave a positive review and share on your social media. Because could you imagine if everyone in your life really got it together? Remember, own it now, so you can really own it later.